When Bitcoin fell below $113,000, retail buyers became very bearish. This was the worst mood seen since June 22nd. In the past, this extreme has meant that it was a good time to buy because markets tend to move against what most people think they will do. The XRP army is back on the CryptoZX channel. Thank you so much, guys. If you haven't already, please subscribe and follow me on X, but let us check out what's going on. We're going to build on what was said here, but let's also look at what's been going on in the markets as a whole over the last hour. Some coins are starting to move into the green, but the majority of the market is still in red. If you look at the last 24 hours, you can see that XRP has now lost about 1% per hour. On a daily basis, the price is down about 4.2% in USD, but it's down about 2.7% in Bitcoin, or $2.90. The value is $172 billion, and $6.9 billion worth of trades happen every 24 hours. Just so everyone knows, nothing on this channel is meant to be taken as business advice. As with any investment, you should always do your own study before putting money into crypto. A crypto quant says that the slowdown may last 2 to 4 weeks before the price goes back up to new highs. We're going to try to keep this in perspective. To put it another way, everything makes sense in terms of timing because it sets us up for September. As we all know, the market is expected to start going up in September, right before the FOMC meeting. That's the prediction I'm making. It's clear that only time will tell. But September has always been a very bullish month, and since we're still in a bull market, power is still very low. The market as a whole is likely to start to creep up. I think there will be a small drop in prices on the day of the FOMC meeting, even if the rate is lowered. However, this will only last for a short time. What I think about it is this. I also agree with some of what this piece says. But if you look at this, BlackRock has more than 87 billion Bitcoin, which is more than 3% of the total Bitcoin amount. Even though this is an XRP report, we pay a lot of attention to Bitcoin because it shows how the market is doing. What would happen if XRP got an ETF? XRP hasn't been able to hit an all-time high until the lawsuit happened last cycle, but this time, big players like banks are showing interest in the biggest asset class, which is obviously Bitcoin in the crypto group. I believe that projects like XRP will follow the lead of BTC, which has been around for 13 years. I think they'll do really well this time because the rules are clearer this time, and now that the ETF is up and running, I think it changes the game even more. But 3% of the total amount of Bitcoin? Really? BlackRock owns 3% of all the Bitcoins that will ever be made. And these guys are getting more Bitcoin every day because they want to be in charge of everything. Remember that there are only 21 million Bitcoin left in the world at the end of the day. And that doesn't mean you'll have 21 million Bitcoins right away. A lot of Bitcoins are gone for good. Of course, we have to think about the ones that are still being mined, which gets harder and harder over time. To mine these Bitcoins and other things, you don't want to ignore them. But going back to this, retail investors tend to be short-sighted, which is why I told you guys in my last XRP update that if you're in it for the long haul, let's say you have a time horizon of 5 to 10 years or more, then obviously pay attention to what's happening with XRP and stay up to date. The price prediction, but you shouldn't freak out just yet. That's right, patience is your best friend if you've done your study and only invested what you can afford to lose. I'll say that again and again. Market changes are going to happen. I don't care how many times I say it, but retail, pay attention to this one thing. People who work in retail are always sloppy. In view 2020, we kind of go back and say, oh, you know what? It was better to just hold our coins until now. It would have been worth a lot if I had kept our coins until now. That's something to learn. Pay attention to and learn from the smart money. The smart money is buying Bitcoin and even looking at it from past cycles. When you did see some small institutions or even sophisticated individual investors beginning to pay attention to Bitcoin, the things that were saved up and the patience that was shown have now paid off. The best thing you can do is wait. Shopping again. For the record, I think 90% of shopping not going to make it. I do it again. This is just my opinion, but I think 90% won't make it because, our brains can fail us sometimes, the way our brains get greedy for crypto space when we're feeling very happy. It's also true if you look at other green coins. Again, this is something I know from personal experience. This hits home for a lot of people. Thanks. Some people will want it, and we need to understand that. I know some people will say crypto is XY. Are you saying that none of us will make it? No matter how sad it is, that's just the truth, guys. That's because someone has to take the loss, and I don't want anyone from the CryptoZX army or anyone else. Of course, I don't wish that on anyone, but that is the truth. Not everyone gets what they want. For us, you should ask yourself this question. I know I'm going on a big rant, but it's very, very important to remember. What's my horizon? Where do I see myself in 5 years? Long term for the next 10 years? Am I only interested in it for a short time? If so, guess what? Make an extra plan and stick to it to lock in your gains. If you don't, someone else will, and that's fine. But enough with the rent. Let's keep going with our news. Nate says, the Fed's Bauman made some comments today about banks, regulators, and crypto. Things are going to change. It is very important for banks and authorities to stop being too cautious and be open to new technologies. Read this. There is a fast shift toward crypto. It's going very quickly. What has happened in the crypto space in the last 8 months is something we could only dream of back then. When I say back in the day, I mean in the last 10 years. Yeah, I've been in this space for a while. Like I said, I'll have been in this crypto space for 10 years next year, and so much has changed in this space and in this business. It's really interesting. And what if I told you that a lot of that has been happening in the last 8 months? But that's where regulatory clarity and rules being put into place came from, not ETFs. That's what you want to take place. Once more, we're going in the right way. So pay attention to these XRP holders. Gemini just dropped a vague hints, the next age of rewards that hide XRP. As you can see, they said that the next age of rewards is about to begin. So I could see that they said X to mean caps, which of course means extra PNF. They've done something like this before with RLUSD. What does this basically mean? This basically means that they may be adding some rewards like staking awards. As you may know, XRP is not a proof of stake agreement. However, exchanges can use it, and by letting people borrow it, they can earn yield. Even though you know a lot about XRP, there are risks that come with it, so do your research before this goes live. There are so many tools there that you need to look around a lot before you go ahead with anything. Get this done because there's always a way to do it. You also know that this comes with a risk, but again, this is a big deal for many who own XRP. I'm sure some people are excited about this. However, please let me know in the comments what you personally think about this look at this wave. What do you think about this bull? This is the first public listing that puts the payment process on the chain. It also sets the stage for how stablecoins can change listing in the future. Take that in, guys. Take that in. Saw some of the money from the IPO was paid in RLUSD, which is a stable coin. Do we understand this? This shows how far RLUSD has come in such a short time. I also think RLUSD will have a big share of the safe coin market because it is so important for regulators to be clear. The safe coins that don't follow the rules will have to be taken off the list. From now on, Shutter to Smoke stated that both XRP and HBR will directly benefit from Swift's live digital asset trials and the ongoing switch to ISO 2022. Also, Nate says that, as you can see, made this big claim just a few days after the SEC put off making a decision on a few spot XRP ETFs. Even so, he says it looks like the doors for spot XRP ETFs will open in the next 2 months. This means that Gersey thinks the SEC will approve more than one XRP ETF by October. Finally, we know the October due date. You can check this out for yourself. Notably, by October 18th, the SEC must decide whether to allow Grayscale's request to change its XRP trust to a spot ETF or not. Also, you have until October 19th to make up your mind. 21 XRP shares. Even though we still have a lot of time, I agree with what Nate says about the schedule. I also think that would be a great time for us. We did go back to the 60% when we looked at the majority. We went outside of that range and were turned down at that point. That's good to see, pulled back down, very cool to see. But when it comes to Bitcoin, even though there has been an uptick, I don't want you to get too excited just yet because we are still not above the 115K range, especially the 117, which means we could still see a double bottom or even go below that. XRP on the other hand, is still sitting below $3, which is a shame. It is what it is, and you and I need to know what's going on with the market as a whole. It was talked about in the last update that these price ranges are available right now. It's clear that we have some backing around the 290. I told you guys in my last report that we should be ready for a possible double bottom to happen if this doesn't hold. We're going to take things one step at a time, though. Thanks for everything you've done. Stay safe and have a nice time in CryptoZX.